Thing we are going to debate now. If you live in Wales, you don't need me to tell you that you've become the first country in the UK to roll out a 20 miles per hour speed limit for residential roads and in built-up areas.
Yeah, and the majority of roads in Wales that were 30 miles an hour have now become 20 miles an hour, although councils do have the discretion to impose some exemptions.
Well, I have to say, I drove through Cardiff recently, and you would be lucky to get to 20 miles an hour.
It was gridlock.
So, yeah.
That's fine in the middle of the day, but as we've discussed previously...
No. But what I'm saying is, so they're going to put a 20 mile an hour maximum on that anyway. The place doesn't move, is what I'm saying. So anyway, here's Amy Nickell-Turner. Amy believes it's not drivers that 20 miles per hour will help. It's children, dog walkers, cyclists. And
Natasha Asghar says the blanket speed limit is beyond crazy. Let's start with you then, Natasha. A lot of people really upset about this.
Yeah, without a doubt, it's definitely caused a huge furore here in Wales. It was a brainchild of the Labour Party. Initially, it started off as something they were going to bring out to help the environment. When the research came back, it was proven that actually driving at slower speeds would increase pollution in the air. So then they changed it and said, actually, OK, we're going to now be bringing out this policy to save lives. Now, I've always been saying from day one, not a single politician, not a single Conservative will ever be against anyone doing anything in order to save lives. However, there were a multitude of options that I posed in front of the Welsh Government, for example, Go Safe campaigns. There were other opportunities for them to do things that would eventually promote the safety of people, pedestrians on the roads. And we've always said having 20 miles per hour outside places where it's needed, such as outside hospitals, outside schools, playgrounds, places of worship, etc., have them by all means, give the power to the councils. But the way the Welsh Labour government has gone about this has been nothing short of a harebrained exercise. And quite frankly, it's rather sanctimonious when those who bought it out are driven around in ministerial cars all day long.
So, Natasha, just explain to me the way they have brought it out, because I thought it was just outside schools, hospitals and in built-up residential areas.
So the fact is that we've actually had confirmation from a council. I live in South East Wales. I represent South East Wales. And we were sent a letter from a constituent whereby 20 miles per hour, yes, it's been introduced in all residential areas, surrounding areas, etc. However, the Welsh Labour government is now going to be looking into introducing policies to crack down on 40 miles per hour, 50 miles per hour, and now 70 miles per hour. It seems like they're going to go completely out of bounds with this and start becoming a bit of a nanny state when it comes to speed limits.
Well, let's get the thoughts then of Amy Nickell-Turner. You welcome this, but are you in favour of a nanny state?
No, I'd just like to address a couple of points that were brought up. So it's really important that this isn't a blanket ban. It's just a swapping. So before it was the roads are 30 miles an hour and then the local authority can make them 20. Now it will be they're 20 miles an hour and the local authority can apply for an exemption to make them 30. This happens really, really successfully in Edinburgh. It happens really successfully in Spain. But I think the really key thing is this isn't a new thing. It's been in development for the last 4 years, and during that time it had cross-party consensus that this was the way to go forward. So it's really disappointing now to hear a Conservative using it, predictably perhaps, as a bit of a wedge issue to piggyback on the whole ULEZ furore and kind of capitalise on this faux war against motorists, which when we look at the facts, if you're hit by a car at 20 miles per hour, you're 5 times less likely to die than at 30 miles an hour. Now, the other commentator brought up the idea of having 20 miles an hour outside schools, outside areas of faith. 80% of children who are hit by cars in residential areas. So this is supported by Public Health Wales, because the biggest cause of childhood injury in Wales is road traffic accidents, and they estimate there will be a 40% reduction, supported by the trials that have already taken place. And it pays for itself in the fact that we're not going to be paying as much for the NHS, and we're protecting our children. We've already said that that's something we can all agree on, and that's something that we did agree on. So it just baffles me that this is being misrepresented in the way it does, but it doesn't actually, because it shows.
How do you know it's going to pay for itself in the NHS? You have no idea it's going to pay for itself in the NHS.
Yes, it it's been trialled successfully over the past 4 years.
Well, see, I think it's like the emissions argument as well. Cars that go slower give out more pollutants. And there's signs up all over London, don't idle your engine. But here we are going slower. And what about, I mean, I just put this to you as well, Natasha. What about people like delivery drivers who are up against the clock doing things, or people who, I don't know, community nurses, for instance, who've got to get round and see so many patients in a day? This is not going to do a lot for them, is it?
No, it's not, Eamon. You're absolutely right. And I've spent the best part of my recess literally meeting with taxi drivers who actually are responsible for paying for their families, they're responsible for their partners, for their children, etc. It's going to have an impact on their earnings. I've spoken to firefighters. In fact, a retained firefighter got in touch with me and I spoke with him. He said, look, Natasha, it is going to impact us regardless of what people are saying. And for example, if there is a fire, let me explain to you how it works. I live in my home. My home is between 8 to 10 minutes away from the fire station. If I get a 999 page or, for example, a call, I have to make it from my home to the fire station at 20 miles per hour. There's no way that I can have an exemption or get there quicker. So when it comes to, for example, a house on fire, they are going to get there slower. And just in relation to what the lovely lady mentioned earlier, with all due respect, since becoming a member, I have never voted in favour of this. The Welsh Government keeps saying it's going to bring health benefits. But just to be clear, according to the Labour Party here's own research and their own papers, it's going to have a detrimental effect to the Welsh economy up to the sum of £8.9 billion. And as someone who lives in Wales, we have a crumbling health service as it is. We've got RAC issues just as much as everyone else around the country does. And also, I would much rather that money be spent. It's going to be frittered away in the economy based on 20 miles per hour, on health, on education, on those issues here in Wales that actually matters.
A final thought then from you, Amy, with that allegation that, go on, I mean, you want to come back, but it was...
Couple of things. When this went through Welsh Parliament over 4 years, it had the support of the police, it had the support of delivery drivers who were all consulted during this time. It also has the support of the Welsh Fire and Rescue Services. People estimate that an average journey, the time that would be added would be about 1 minute to, say, a 10-minute journey. So it's been addressed, and it's been that's why it's gone through Welsh Parliament.
Okay, Amy, Natasha, we've got to leave it there. Thank you both very much indeed. Locking bumpers there over the 20 mile per hour limit in Wales. Thank you very much indeed. What I can say to this is, and I'm reading your mind, I think you'll back me up on this. The most irritating part of my journey into work in the morning at 4 o'clock in the morning, whatever, is the 20 mile an hour strip. Is it on the Westway in London, which is empty, right? And you sit at 20 mile an hour just looking
and it's designed for speed. And there's no houses either side of it.
No.
It's utterly bonkers. But, I probably can see the middle ground, because in residential areas, as Amy was saying there, this is the biggest cause of injury to little ones. There should be no question. Although, again, I think possibly it only needs to be in place during rush hour or school opening hours.
There should be exemptions for firefighters, police officers,
absolutely.
all that sort of thing, that you can do a Kojak. You just stick your blue light on the top. You know, when I was a kid, my first car, I used to get a magnetic light.
Don't say you got a fake one.
I used to get a magnetic light that you just stuck on the top.
I can imagine you with
that. But I just don't think a Fiat 124 cut it. I'm not sure it can. I did put
you were Starsky and Hutch.
I did, but I put go faster stripes on it.
Oh, that makes you go fast.
And I had a siren. Did you flick a switch and it would go?
Is that not illegal?
Yeah. And it went